just what I'm made of now. Trying to reach inside of me, trying to get my ambition. Let me show you just what I'm made of.
I'm probably about to tick off a lot of people with this review. I don't know the critical response of it yet, but I have seen it pretty much scoring 7s from Metacritic and IMDb, because I literally checked it during the end credits. But, you know what? I have to be truthful with you guys. 100% truthful. No matter how many people it may tick off. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Animation Station, number one style station for anything and everything animation. I'm your host, Jack Small, and tonight, I should say, I just got done watching Blue's Big City Adventure. This is the first theatrical, big-budget Blue's Clues movie. Now, it's not Blue's first ever movie, because there was also Blue's big musical movie, something of that title, from back, I believe, in like the late 90s, early 2000s, somewhere around there. And I'm probably certain that a lot of people that aren't into this franchise are going to slam this movie for being cheesy and saccharine. But let me be honest with you guys. 100% honest. I have been a fan of this franchise since I was a young kid. I grew up on the original series, watching reruns of it on Nick Jr. I had a bunch of the old merch. I still have... not sure if I can actually show it. Yeah, I don't think. Actually, hold on. Let me see if I still have it. Hold on. Ah, yes I do. I do still have it. I even still have my Blue's Clues baby blanket from way back when I was a young kid. That's how much I loved this series as a young kid. And then I watched it again when I was around teenage age, maybe 16, 17, just to make sure it wasn't being blinded by just childhood nostalgia. But somehow it got even better with age. Like, the show is charming, it's funny, the hosts are an absolute delight, the music, some of the best Nickelodeon has ever done that's not SpongeBob related. And another really cool fact for you guys is that this is the one Nickelodeon show that's still around, aside from Rugrats, but that's its own thing, that's actually older than SpongeBob. I believe 25 or 26 years old, to be specific. Now, like a lot of people, when it was first announced that Blue's Clues was getting a revival and they were replacing the 2D with 3D CGI, I was definitely very skeptical. Like, no way this can match the original series. No way it can bring back that same heart and charm and passion that the original series had. And I know this is gonna tick off specifically my girlfriend to say, but I love the revival. Like, it does a great job evolving this franchise for a newer generation. And with adults that grew up with the original watching the revival with their kids, I bet it's really delightful for them as well, that they get to grow up, watch their kids grow up with the same franchise that they grew up on as kids themselves. That's just so heartfelt and wholesome and just so good. But granted, I didn't really jump into the revival until I heard about the Christmas special, because that's when Steve and Joe made their first official return to the franchise. Far from their last, I know. I'll get into that. But when I first heard that, I was like, oh man, I gotta watch this now. No dodging around it. And it was even coming out around Christmas time, like literally in December. It's not like most Christmas episodes or specials where it's put at like the back end of November. It's weird. But I watched that Christmas special, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I might have cried 2 or 3 times doing that. Like, it was such a great special. It did an amazing job, not only having a good reason to bring these two back, even though Steve already made his return in the show's pilot, as I learned after I watched the Christmas special. But I believe this is when Joe made his actual full official return, because I don't think he was in the pilot. I don't know, I have to rewatch it to be sure. But anyway, I'm getting off track. The point is, I love Blue's Clues, I love the original, I love the revival, and now we come to the first ever full-length feature film from Blue's Clues as a franchise. And this movie had to go through a lot. For one, production started, I believe, right the very beginning or somewhere in the middle of the big pandemic from 2020, so it ended up having to be pushed back a little bit, and then we didn't hear a peep about it for a while, and then there were some leaked clips, and then it wasn't until this year we actually got a trailer for the thing, which I already reacted to. Go watch that video, link will be in the description. But I was pretty excited. Yes, I was a bit skeptical, but you know what? It's Blue's Clues, how bad can it really be? And I just finished watching it, and I gotta say, I love this movie. I love it for so many reasons. So, because I have so many positive things to say about it, let me get my itty-bitty little gripes out of the way. The first one being that the CGI is definitely a bit on the dodgy side. It's not horrible by any means. I mean, I've seen worse. I mean, Food Fight exists, but it's still a bit dodgy, and sometimes the lip syncing can be a little off. And while you can tell it definitely has a bigger budget than the normal show, it still tries to have that same somewhat quality from the series in the movie, which makes sense. It's a TV show movie. I mean, that's to pretty much be expected. But at times it can be a bit dodgy, specifically on Mr. Soul. His lip syncing is definitely the dodgiest. But Blues is fine. Tickety Talk probably looks the best out of all of them, in my opinion. And then Suds, I believe its name is. Sorry, I forget the specific name of the soap bar. It's been a while since I've actually watched the show. But yeah, Tickety Talk, it definitely looks the best out of all of them. And the other big gripe I have with it, and this is probably going to be the thing that turns most people away from it, it is very saccharine. Very saccharine and very positive, and if you're one of those people that doesn't like super like sugarly sweet kind of stuff, then you're not gonna like this. Because if you don't like saccharine sweetness or over positive cheesiness, you're not gonna like this. If you're not into those things, don't watch it. It's not for you. That's really my only two gripes. The rest of the movie, all positive, so let's just dive right in. First of all, the thing that surprised me the most is that the storyline they came up with is actually fitting of a feature-length film, you know? Josh gets this big Broadway audition for Rainbow Puppy's Broadway musical, and then he goes to New York, taking the Skidoo Express. It's not a spoiler, it's in the trailer. But then he ends up losing his handy-dandy notebook because he forgot it at the house. And then it's up to Mr. Salt, Tickety Talk, and I'm just gonna call it Suds. Suds. I don't really know the name of the soap bar. I'm sorry. Editing, correct me later. It's up to them to get Josh his notebook back and help him find his audition in time before it's too late. And meanwhile, to help them with this journey, they recruit Steve and Joe. Steve being part of having his own little detective agency now, but still very Blue's Clues. Like, he still has the green crayon. He still uses that classic version of the handy dandy notebook with the yellow pages and the thinking chair on the front. And then Joe, sorry. And then Joe, I believe, I forget what his job is, but he's also in New York, so they all get together to try and help Josh on his mystery there. And the thing that really surprised me is that at first glance you're like, okay, that sounds like the storyline for a special, not much for a movie. But surprisingly enough, they actually found a way to make it work for a full feature length. And speaking of the feature length, it's just barely over an hour. Like, it's only 74 minutes. It's a very brisk, fast watch. And it felt very brisk and fast pretty much all the way through. A little too fast at times, but not to the point of being outright, like a sore thumb. But it's definitely very fast. Like, you go here, 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 you go here. You go back to here, then you go here, you go here, you go here, you go here, you go here. Like, it's really quick and fast. It has a very, breakneck pace to it. And it somehow works. Like, it really does work. The other great positive about the movie, I gotta say, the acting. Specifically from the main three leads, Josh, Joe, and Steve. Josh is still the ever super positive guy that he always is, and he really brings his Broadway experience into this role, especially in this movie. And then Joe is definitely the weak link of the three. His acting isn't terrible by any means, he's still really good, but it just didn't feel like he had a whole lot to work with. And then there's Steve. Steve probably puts in the best performance of the whole movie, because he takes his job so dead seriously, and it's so funny. Like, he's like, "Let's see who we got. A mystery." Every time he said it, and the camera would just swoop into his, a zoom in on his face as he said it. It was just it's so cheesy and so dead serious, and it's so funny. That's the other thing that surprised me about this movie. This movie is genuinely funny. Genuinely laugh out loud hilarious. There is a lot of great jokes in here. There's a joke about how Josh talks to inanimate objects because he thinks that they're like his storybook world where they're, where they come to life. And what's funny about it is that it doesn't happen until, they come to life immediately after he finishes talking. That is genius. And what's also really impressive here is that despite this being a Nickelodeon movie, there's no low-hanging fruit humor here. There's no fart joke, there's no toilet jokes, there's no jokes that's going to make you roll your eyes. The writing here is surprisingly smart and very self-aware. And it works. I don't know what else to say, it really works here. The next big positive, the music. A lot like SpongeBob and Sonic, Blue's Clues has always had a great taste in music. A great history of different tracks, whether it's the iconic Mail song that I still find myself humming all the time when I'm opening a letter. Mail! I'm sorry, I'm such an immature person. I'm sorry. There was that song. There's, of course, the main theme. There's the Blue's Clues song. There's so many great tracks. And yes, these are all pop songs. I'm very much well aware. But it's the really enjoyable, upbeat, positive kind of pop that really works for me. Sure, it's a bit simplistic in its actual songwriting, and if you look too deep in the lyrics, you're gonna find flaws, but that's not the point. The point is to be upbeat, positive, and make you just want to get up and dance as, the groove keeps going. And that's how much I love the music here. And especially coming from someone who is more centered on country and rock and heavy metal as my main two genres of music that I listen to. The pop music here was surprisingly very good. Very, very good. It really made me want to get up and dance, and it really fit the whole Broadway aesthetic they were going for. Sorry, hiccups. That they were going for here. And it's really, really impressive how well they did it here. Now, I don't think it's on the quality of, the best of, say, SpongeBob songs or Crush 40, for example. No. It's not, but it's not supposed to be. It's just supposed to be lighthearted, fun, bouncy, upbeat, positive tracks that just make you want to get up and dance. That's how it is. What also really surprised me about this movie is that outside of B.D. Wong and Alex Winter, you don't really get that many big name celebrities in here. You don't get those super big names, like a big name actors or actress. You don't get Scarlett Johansson. You don't get Will Ferrell. You don't get Ryan Reynolds. You don't get any of those here. You don't get Beyonce. You don't get Kim Kardashian. You don't get any of that. Because outside of B.D. Wong and Alex Winter, that's it. And that's both a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because it means there's more time to focus on the main three leads that you're supposed to be focusing on. But at the same time, this movie could have definitely used just a little bit more star power. Maybe just a few more really cool little cameos. And little spoiler, even though it is in the trailer, Alex Winter is definitely more of a glorified cameo. But it's cool when it's there. Oh, and speaking of the music, this one's also a little bit of a spoiler alert. They do a rock version of the Blues Clues theme. And it's really good. It's really good. Especially, again, as someone who's a huge metalhead, it really works here. And I absolutely love it. It's such a good rendition of the theme. I'm not going to say anything more about it. I'm just going to say it's really good, and when you hear it, you're going to be headbanging for a while. Let me just put it that way. There's also some genuine emotion in here. I was genuinely invested on the struggle. And not only that, it's not just another Blues Clues adventure. It's also an adventure about Josh learning how to get over his nervousness. He's going to this big audition, he's nervous, he thinks he isn't going to be good enough. But then, through the help of his family of friends, as I'm going to call them, he ends up finding that inner strength to really just show the world what he can do. And it's really, really good and very satisfying when it finally happens. And the Broadway musical itself, while it is very brief at the very end, is very good here. And again, that great music really shines through. Yeah, I have nothing but positive things to say about Big City Adventure. I mean, I had those two little gripes, but the rest of it, very positive. I had a great time watching it, and I was smiling and laughing the whole time. I didn't feel bored. I didn't feel like I had to check my phone at any moment. I was 100% invested. And sure, that's maybe just because I'm a huge fan of the franchise. That's a given. But I love this movie, plain and simple. And it's definitely going to be on my best movies of the year list. I don't care how controversial that is, and I don't care if I'm the only one that does it. It is a great movie that deserves the spot. It is a fantastic film. If you are a huge fan of this franchise and grew up with it, or you're a family looking for something to watch, or you're a young preschool kid who's just getting into the series, or just a young kid looking for something fun to watch that really gets you in that positive holiday season-esque mood, this is definitely the movie. And not only that, it is a great movie to watch around Thanksgiving, which is why I think they chose the release date that they did of today, November 18th. Because it's a movie that really does a great job bringing in that positive vibe, really making kids and adults smile alike, and really getting them in that positive mood for when the holiday season comes right around the corner. A perfect transition Thanksgiving movie. And I know it doesn't have any Thanksgiving in it, but you know what I mean. It has that nice transitionary feel to it. And releasing it when they released it was definitely a huge positive. So yeah, nothing but positive things to say about this movie. Now, granted, like I said, if you're not a fan of Blue's Clues, and if you're someone that cannot enjoy, cheesy saccharine sweetness, then stay away. It's not for you. But if you are a fan of this franchise, especially if you're an adult like me that grew up pretty much since the beginning of this show, you are going to have an absolute blast with this movie. Kids will love it, fans will love it, adults will love it, and families are going to absolutely cherish it for years to come. I know this review is going to tick off a few people by me putting it in such high praise, but I cannot be anything but truthful with you guys. My final verdict for Blue's Big City Adventure is the highest 9.5 out of 10 I can possibly give. I want to give it a 10, but just those two little things still bug me a little bit. But outside of that, it's delightful, it's charming, it's funny, and it's absolutely not delightful, sorry, I already said it. It's just absolutely outstanding on every single front. It was worth the wait. I had an absolute blast watching it, and I already put up my review on Metacritic. So if you guys want a shorter version of that, I'll link it in the description. If you just want a shorter version of this review and my overall thoughts. This is a fantastic film, and it was absolutely worth the 3-year wait. And I hope this isn't the last time Blue gets a movie. Because if this movie's any indication, this is a franchise that was built to become a big movie franchise as well. Up there with SpongeBob. Up there with Sonic the Hedgehog. It really just works beautifully from start to finish. And well, that's all I've got. So, yeah, just seriously, go see it. Even if you have to sign up for a Paramount Plus account just to see it, see it. It is absolutely worth your time. And it is definitely one of my favorite movies of the year. And I know that is going to, again, tick off a lot of people. But you know what? It's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. Great film. Absolute delight all the way through from start to finish. And just perfect, in my opinion. Perfect movie. Had a great time with it. And I hope this isn't the last time Blue gets a movie. But Nickelodeon, please release it in theaters next time. This is a movie that absolutely deserves to be seen on a screen that big. If you're one of the 3 categories I already talked about. A preschooler, an adult that grew up with the original, or just a family in general looking for something positive and upbeat to watch to help you transition into the holiday season. And that's all I got. Thank you guys for watching. Remember to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. And yes, this review is staying here on Animation Station because I feel like putting it on Cinema Saiyan 77 would be just a little bit too redundant, so it's going to stay here on Animation Station. And seriously, just go watch this movie. I have nothing more to say. Fantastic film. I am absolutely buying the DVD, and I am definitely buying the soundtrack whenever it actually comes out. So, thank you guys for watching. I'm Jack Small, your one and only. I'm already screwing up my outro. And this is Jack Small of Animation Station. No more stats, anything and everything animation. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.